Welcome back, and now we are going to change our focus from the recap of the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 to the preview of the Final Four with Kevin McNutt, basketball analyst and noted author, and Coach Jimmy Fly Hellmann of HSRN. And gentlemen, so our Final Four, you got Auburn versus Virginia. Talk about a contrast in styles. Mm-hmm. What do you see in that game, Kevin?
Probably Virginia will take over. This might be their time. I mean, Auburn's going to try to push the pace. Okeke, that towards ACL, that's a big difference. 6'8", 230, shoot the three. He's absent, and they overcame Kentucky, but Virginia's a different animal. They're more experienced than Kentucky. They run the pattern. I think they're going to frustrate. Harper is a great guard, but Harper will give it to you, and he would take it away, you know, because he gets out of control sometimes. Virginia's going to advance.
Okay. What about you, Jimmy?
I'm feeling the Chuckster.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why. Because
man.
Virginia, remember, this is the same team that lost to UMBC last year with good guards. Purdue had them and let them off the hook, as Dennis Green likes to say. I think Purdue made 13 threes. The game prior to against Oregon, they made 14 threes against Virginia's defense. Auburn is a three-point shoot. They've taken, I think, the most three-point shots in the NCAA. And that young man Harper, he can light it up, and they can't stay in front of those little guards. Auburn figured it out against Kentucky because they took away the three. They started dribble penetrating, going to the rack hard. With a week to prepare, Bruce Pearl, they're on a 12-game win streak. And here's some stats to remember: 8 steals a game they averaged during that 12-game win streak. They had 8 steals against Kentucky, and who did they beat?
North Carolina and Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky game, and 7 blocks. No, it was 10 steals, 7 blocks. That gave them the extra possession. Now, Virginia doesn't carve it up, but if Auburn can turn them over and get the extra possessions, Chuck's going to the final. He might get his first ring.
Okay, makes sense.
The other matchup.
And they have to extend. If they extend the defense, they should, because they have the quickness factor. So you're right. If Auburn extends, they can. I'm going to say it's going to be a buzzer beater now, which I expect.
Now, the other matchup, the late game, is going to be Texas Tech versus Michigan State. And you've got to give Izzo some credit for getting past Coach K and Zion and in Zion's college career. And he's doing it without his starting wing players. I mean, Winston has done an incredible job leading that team, and he calls a play for a former walk-on to hit the game-winning shot. As Rafter would say, that took some onions. Agreed. So who do you like in that matchup?
Again, I'm an Izzo kind of guy. I think he will find a way. Depth. It's going to be a defensive battle. It comes down to this. I take this. Who stars better between Culver and Winston? Because both of those guys are, the team rests on anything that they do. So whichever one has the better game, and I'm talking about not necessarily just points. You know, defensively, especially for Winston, he's got to set up the players. That's going to dictate that one. Good game. It's going to be a great game.
Who do you like in that one?
Well, since Texas Tech is my only team standing, I don't flip-flop. I'm going to ride with him. Michigan State, because Auburn and Texas Tech are the only 2 teams never been to the Final Four before. Virginia, you saw Ralph Sampson in the stands. He got them there 81-84. He's sitting there, Magic's there. I think it's a big advantage to Michigan State because Izzo's won it twice. He was there as an assistant when Magic won it in '79. Huge advantage to him. But I think I just like this Texas Tech team. They have trouble scoring sometimes, but everything goes through Culver. And other guys have stepped up when they need them to.
Moretti.
They have the number one. They can lock you down. The thing, Michigan State, they're second in the country in assists. So they move the basketball, get their shots. It's going to come down to rebounding because Michigan State, you always think of them a rebounding team.
That's correct.
But they're a poor defensive rebounding team. They give a lot of offensive boards up. I think that's where Texas Tech can get a little edge. And I'm just going with Texas Tech as an upset. So I got Chuck and Texas Tech.
Texas Tech and Auburn.
And that means Bobby Knight will show up at the final.
Who you got tearing down the net? You riding with Texas Tech?
I'm going to, sorry, Chuck. He's going to be ringless.
And you riding with your pick of Michigan State?
Michigan State, yeah. I'm an Izzo fan.
And it's interesting, Kevin. You talk about the difference between the first weekend and the second weekend. No, there weren't many upsets, and we still got all Power 5 conference teams in the Final Four.
Right.
You got one from the ACC, one from the SEC, one from the Big Ten, and one from the Big 12.
That's right. Yeah. It always rolls that way in the end. It's usually power conference, but Texas, like you said, Texas Tech and Auburn are surprised to get there. So it's March Madness. It came back to the form I expected it to be. The best
Kevin, talk about how you're doing in your family. You guys have been doing this for years. I mean, it's a thing now.
Right.
But talk about your group a little bit and the history behind the group of guys.
You probably do well in this. We have a draft, and it's gotten so big now where we don't draft teams like you do in your office pool. We draft players. And we have 20 participants now. It's up to 20 participants. We draft 15 rounds of players. And if your collection of players outscore my collection of players, you win the pot. Oh. So in other words, like Zion was the first pick. And then we go all the way down, 20 names. And then we go back up a snake draft. And we keep track.
Did anybody pick Carson Edwards?
Carson Edwards was like the 17th pick.
Wow.
And as a matter of fact, the guy who has Carson Edwards is in first place now with still the final four to go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we've been doing this for 32 years.
That's what I was saying.
Now.
You guys were forerunners of fantasy sports.
Right.
Well, you got my number, so.
And we started out doing it at a bar with 6 of us. Now we got 20, and everybody's partnered up. They got their son playing, or they got a team of 2 or 3 guys. So we got a hotel. We got at a hotel, 45 guys in the room, and we go for 3 hours.
And you guys used to travel to the regionals too, didn't you?
Well, that was another collection. We always go. We are such college basketball junkies. Around this time now, we would say, where are the sites for next year? Jacksonville, Albuquerque, Arizona. And we say, let's go. We don't know who's playing. We don't care. It's NCAA basketball. That's how much I'm in love with this thing.
You think we can put the draft on the Roundball report? Televised.
I like this man.
Televised.
We'll have to work on that for next year.
We do it in Prince George's County.
We can only do it for pizzas. We only play for pizzas on this show.
I like this man.
So we got 1 pick in Michigan State and 1 pick in Texas Tech.
Break the tie.
I'm going to go with Virginia. I think they're the team of destiny.
Some say that. After the embarrassment of UMBC to get to the Final Four, and we're getting to the Final Four and been in the championship, 2 different things.
But you could have a Texas Tech Virginia final in a 42-40
we don't want that.
championship game.
That's another thing where I'm saying Michigan State.
That's why the referees were moving that guy from the corner over there on the inbounds because they wanted Duke in the finals.
No sale when you start criticizing my referee. That's who we are. That's how we do on a part.
So now
agree.
we talk about the one and done era. Zion was obviously going to be the number 1 overall pick. Kevin, how do you see his game translating to the next level?
He'll be fine. I mean, the hardest part to get is a jump shot, and that's his sole weakness right now. He can put it on the floor. He can pass in small windows. He sees the floor. He plays hard and intense. The package is there, 6'8", 280, whatever the number is. He'd be fine.
I think he's 6'6". I think he's Chuck, because Charles Barkley was really probably only 6'4".
Yes.
But he was so wide. Yep. This guy, they say 6'8", but then when you talk to people, they say 6'6".
Right.
I haven't heard 6'6". I've heard 6'7".
Right.
Well, it's a difference because when you get to pros, there's men down in that lane. They're going to deal with you. The one thing I saw when and I said this last week, when he makes his moves, he'll always go hard right and spin back left. He's got to have a counter going the other way, and they'll work all that stuff out and grow his game.
Question for you.
But you can, they find your weakness and exploit it in the pros.
But if you're a big NBA man, how do you not draft him?
You have to pick.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. How can you not?
But it depends on where he goes. If he goes to the Knicks. Now, if they get Kevin Durant and Irvin to come in free agency, he's going to have a ready-made.
But the draft is beforehand.
No, well, what I'm saying.
If they add them to Zion.
Then that makes his life easy.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Coming in. He'll be Rookie of the Year hands down.
Right.
But if he's there by himself, with Knox and a couple other young guys they got, he'll have his struggles like any other rookie. But I would suspect he's going to be Rookie of the Year, barring injury.
Yep.
Now, you said you think that Reddish may have hurt himself by not proving to be a gamer?
I mean,
he looked fine in warm-ups.
I mean, I've never heard that, especially at that level. And Coach K's taking him back. And I'm saying, I can't go, Coach. What? And then, I tell you what, I'd take P.J. Washington, knowing what he did. You know, he was in a cast, 2 days before the game, took painkillers, and whether you say that's smart enough because you don't know about, you're playing on a bad wheel,
damage.
what you might further damage. But the fact that he did that, played, produced, that shows me,
He's got the ticker.
Yeah. And another thing about Reddish, he had too many quiet games for me. Too many games, 10 points, 8 points, 12 points.
Does he have the motive?
And I don't want the young men. I love the young men. I don't want to tear down. But I'm saying these things you have to question.
Great job, guys. Where can they pick up your books at, Kevin?
All the bookstores. And I hear the music. I want to tell you this. Andy, I love you. You got a whole lot of style, but what you outpay, I'm gonna be back for a while.
That's going to do it for this edition. I know you enjoyed it. It was informative and action-packed. And you can look forward for more coverage of the NCAA Final Four, late season action for the NBA, special features and interviews with the players and coaches from the high school, college, and professional basketball teams in the metropolitan area on future shows. And remember, if it's happening on the court, we'll definitely be around the ball. And for all of your aspiring basketball stars out there, don't ever forget that focusing on your education is the first step towards making your hoop dreams come true. So until next time, from our co-hosts Nikki Lewis, Monica McNutt, and Janae Hayes, I'm Andrew Dyer for the Roundball Report. Good night.